Are you five again? We've got chapter 4 of our book, and then today, actually, I'm joined by, got Bean. Where is he? Bean, hello, darling. He's just over there, so he might join us in a minute. So, we've got chapter 4, which is called The Land of Stories. Alex had been acting strange all week. Connor had noticed right away because she wasn't as talkative and upbeat as she normally was. Instead, she was very quiet and looked like she was in a deep state of confusion. When they ate breakfast, she barely acknowledged it when her brother said, "Good morning." During school, she stopped raising her hand as much. After school, she barely said a word to Connor while they walked home. And as soon as they got home, Alex would run up the stairs and lock herself in her bedroom for the rest of the day. "Are you feeling okay?" Connor eventually asked her. "You seem different." "Yes, I'm just tired," Alex said. Connor knew she must be tired because she didn't seem to sleep anymore. Every time he had gotten up in the middle of the night to get a glass of water or use the bathroom that week, the lights in his sister's bedroom were still on, and he could hear her rustling about inside, working on something. He didn't have to be a genius to know that his sister was dealing with more than just insomnia. He had seen enough health videos at school to know that girls at his age and his sister's age were expected to start going through mood swings and changes. But Alex had become another person entirely. Something very serious was bothering her, and she was keeping it to herself. "Can I borrow some of your pencils?" a wide-eyed and wide-awake Alex asked him late one night. It was like a peacock asking to borrow some feathers. He wasn't certain how to handle the request. Surely she wasn't still doing homework at this hour. "Don't you have, hundreds?" Connor asked her. "Yes, but I've lost them all," she said. He shared the few that he had with her. Alex took them and quickly disappeared into her room again. She didn't even seem to mind that they were chewed on or were missing their erasers. The next night, Connor kept waking up to a peculiar humming sound coming from Alex's room. It was quiet, but had a strong vibration that he could feel as much as he could hear. "Alex," Connor said, knocking on his sister's door. "What is that sound? I'm trying to sleep and it's driving me crazy." "It's just a bee. I shooed him out the window," a frantic Alex responded from behind the door. "A bee?" a puzzled Connor asked. "Yes, a very big bee. It's mating season, you know, so they're quite aggressive this time of year," Alex called out. All night," Connor said, and went to bed. But these happenings were nothing compared to the events during the next day at school. "Can anyone tell me the names of the rivers that ran through ancient Mesopotamia?" Mrs. Peters asked the class during a history lesson. As usual, she had no volunteers. "Anyone?" Mrs. Peters asked. Everyone was looking at Alex and expecting her hand to shoot into the air any second. But Alex was just staring at the floor. She wasn't paying any attention to anything. "Can anyone tell me what the area between the two rivers is believed to be?" she asked. But it was no use. Alex was lost in her own thoughts. "Miss Bailey, perhaps you know the answer?" Mrs. Peters pleaded. "To what?" asked Alex, snapping out of her trance. "The question," Mrs. Peters said. "Oh," Alex said. "No, I don't." She rested her head. Oh, there he is. She rested her head on her hand and continued staring at the door. Mrs. Peters and the rest of the class didn't understand what was happening. Alex always knew the answers. How was the class going to function without her? "The cradle of civilization," Mrs. Peters told the class, answering the question. "Many believe that mankind started there." "Miss Bailey." Alex sat up quickly in her chair. The most shocking thing that had ever happened in the classroom had occurred. Alex Bailey had dozed off in the middle of class. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Peters," Alex pleaded. "I don't know what came over me. I haven't been sleeping very well lately." Mrs. Peters was staring at her as if she had just witnessed a gruesome rural animal give birth. That's all right," the teacher said. "Hello, darling." "That's all right," the teacher said. "Do you need to see the nurse?" "No, I'm fine. I'm just a little sleepy," Alex said. "I promise that'll never happen again." Connor had been watching the whole thing like it was a train wreck. All he could do was shake his head. What had happened to Alex? Where was his real sister? She was turning into him. The strange humming sound Connor had heard the night before suddenly filled the classroom. Alex sat straight up in her chair, anxious. Her eyes grew larger than they had ever been before. A few of the other students looked around, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. "Can anyone tell me the technologies that were brought into the Stone Age?" Mrs. Peters asked, oblivious to the humming. "Anyone?" she asked again. Alex's hand shot straight up into the air. "Yes, Miss Bailey?" Mrs. Peters happily called on her. "May I use the restroom?" Alex peeped. Mrs. Peters sighed with disappointment. "Yes, you may," she replied. Before she had finished granting Alex permission to leave the classroom, Alex had already jumped out of her seat, grabbed her school bag and headed out for the door. Connor watched his sister leave. His eyes were bulging with suspicion. Why had she taken her backpack with her to the bathroom? He had to know what was going on. He was going to confront his sister here and now at school, where she had no place to run and no bedroom to lock herself into. "Mrs. Peters," Connor called out. "Yes, Mr. Bailey?" Mrs. Peters asked. "Can I see the nurse?" he asked. "What for?" she said. He hadn't thought this far into the plan. My elbow hurts," Connor said. Mrs. Peters stared at him blankly. She may have believed him more if he had told her that he was a dinosaur. "Your elbow hurts?" she asked. "Yes, really bad. I banged it on my desk and now it's just killing me," Connor said, clutching his perfectly fine elbow. Mrs. Peters squinted and rolled her eyes, two of her trademark indications of annoyance in one expression. "Fine," the teacher said, "but I'm going to have to write you a pass." Connor was out the door before she could even finish her sentence. Meanwhile, Alex burst into the girls' restroom. What are you doing? Connor was out the door before she could even finish her sentence. Meanwhile, Alex burst into the girls' restroom. She quickly looked underneath all the stools to make sure she was alone. She zipped... He's not coming back in one of these videos. Bean! Good boy. She quickly looked underneath all the stools to make sure she was alone. She zipped open her school bag, pulled out the Land of Stories, and set it on top of the sink. It was glowing and humming more than ever. "Please turn off. Please turn off. Please turn off. Please turn off," Alex said to the book. "I'm at school. I can't get caught with you here." The sound and shine slowly faded away, and the Land of Stories returned to being just a normal book. Alex sighed with relief, but panicked once more when someone else suddenly charged into the restroom. It was her brother. "Bees don't have mating seasons, Alex," Connor said with a tightened brow and his hands on his hips. "I looked it up. They come from colonies just like ants, even the big ones. They don't have schedules." "Connor, what are you doing in here? You can't be in the girls' bathroom," Alex shouted. "I'm not leaving until you tell me what's going on," Connor demanded. "You've been lying to me all week. I know something's up. I have twin tuition." "Twin tuition?" Alex said sarcastically. "I made it up," Connor said. "It means I know when something's bothering you. Even if you tell me nothing is. At first I thought you were having girl issues." Hold on, let me sort him out. "Oh, Connor, please," Alex interjected. "Then, after all the strange buzzing noises and late nights, I figured Mum must have gotten you a cell phone and didn't want me to know about it. But then I remembered you have no friends. So who would you be calling and texting?" Alex grunted. Now he was being accusative and rude. "But I know you well enough to know that it would take something much worse to make you act this way," Connor said. "You're quiet. You don't know any of Mrs. Peters' answers, and you're falling asleep in class. You're acting like me. So just tell me, what's your problem?" Alex didn't say a word. She just stared at her feet. She was so ashamed at how she had been acting, but she knew no one would believe her if she told them why she had been that way, except maybe her brother. Connor looked around the girls' bathroom. Gosh, it's so nice in here. The boys' bathroom looks like the bottom of a hazardous waste barrel. Wait, why do you have Grandma's book with you? I don't know what's going on. Alex burst into the loud and awkward tears one cries when exhausted and overly stressed. Connor took a step back for his own protection. He had never seen his sister so hysterical. At first I thought I was hallucinating, Alex said. I thought maybe I was having a reaction to something Grandma made us for dinner. That the first night it happened. But then it kept happening, so I knew it wasn't a reaction. Alex, what are you talking about? Connor said. The Land of Stories book, Alex yelled. It glows, it hums, every day it gets louder and brighter. I've lost so much sleep trying to figure out how and why it does. It breaks all the laws of science. Ah, Connor said with raised eyebrows. Alex, I think we should go and see a nurse. You must think I'm insane, Alex told him. Anyone would come to the conclusion that unless they saw it themselves, but I promise I'm telling the truth. I don't think you're insane, Connor lied, starting to think his sister was definitely going insane. It happens once or twice a day, Alex said. I was afraid Mum would find it, so I brought it into school. The last thing she needs to worry about is a possessed book lying around her house. Connor didn't know what to say. He briefly imagined the future trips he and his mother would take to see his sister in the local asylum and the wisecracks he would make about the cool white jacket she got to wear. Clearly, his sister had lost her mind. But after all they'd been through, he couldn't blame her. He kept thinking about how his dad would have handled the situation. What story would he have used to comfort Alex? And we'll stop there. We've still got a few pages left to go, about 10 pages left of chapter 4. So we'll finish those off tomorrow. And Bean won't be joining us tomorrow because he's been a little bit of a nightmare today, so I do apologise. But yes, make sure you're still staying safe online, okay? Remember your SMART rules. Make sure you don't click on anything that you don't know or you're not too sure of. And if there's anything that makes you feel unsafe, make sure you tell an adult, okay? And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.